there that don't know how their Social Security benefits are calculated. So that's what we're going to get into today, because if you don't know how they're calculated, just might be a mistake, and your loved ones just might not get the benefit they're eligible for, what they paid for all their life. So we're going to go into that today. Shouldn't take that long. It's a little complicated. I've come up with some graphics to make it a little bit easier. So about 10 minutes or so, I'll explain how it's calculated, and then we'll get into any live Q&A you have about all things Social Security, retirement benefits, survivor benefits, spouse benefits, Medicare, Medicaid, anything y'all want to talk about. Have any questions, make sure you type them in the live chat there. I've also got some video questions that I'll answer. Okay, let's go ahead and get into it. How is your benefits calculated? Their benefits are calculated for retirement over your high 35 years of earnings. Some people think it's the last 3 or 5 or 1 or whatever the case may be. No, it's your high 35 years of earnings. So the step one is they look at your high 35 years of earnings. And here's where a lot of people make mistakes, is number one, they don't check their earnings record. Remember, you used to get the letter in the mail once a year that tells you here's how much you will get if you retire in the future, if you get disability, for survivor benefits. But it also has on there your work record, how much you actually paid into Social Security all those decades. And people don't look at that, number one, and therefore they or their loved ones might receive the wrong benefit for the rest of their lives, which is not good. Or they don't know how to fix it, or they don't know what to look for. So when you get that, the big thing you're looking for is gap years. So if you have a particular year, 1982, you worked for the same place in 1981 and 1984, 1983, whatever the case may be, and you see this one year that had 0, something's wrong there. You need to fix that. And you're saying, it was only $20,000, $30,000, and it was in 1981, and that's not, I made $100,000 last year, so that $20,000 in 1981 doesn't make a difference. 100% correct. Incorrect. Why? Because your earnings are adjusted for wage growth. They're indexed. So what the first calculation is, they come up with the AIME, averaged indexed monthly earnings. So they look at your high 35 years, and they index those years. So in 1981, if you made $20,000, that might be worth $110,000 today. So that's one of your actually high years. It's not the $100,000 you made last year. It's the $20,000 you made in 1981. So they're indexed for a wage growth. So don't discount those early years. Okay. So they look at the high 35 years and they index those. And once they index them for this wage index, then they add them all together and then they divide them by 420 months. And that comes up with your averaged indexed monthly earnings. So then they take that amount, $2,000 average earnings, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 average earnings you did throughout your life, and multiply it by step 3, this benefit formula. These are called bin points. So Social Security, since day one, since 1935, they really changed it and made it more so in 1939, but Social Security has always been progressive in the sense that lower wage earners get a higher percentage. So this is the percentage. It's called a replacement rate. So Social Security is supposed to replace a percentage of your earnings when you're working. So you're working and then you're retired. Social Security is supposed to replace a percentage of those earnings. Same thing with disability. It replaces a percentage of your earnings when you file for disability benefits. And what's the percentage? That's the key. I'm going to give you some examples here of percentages, and some people are going to be surprised, particularly those government employees, about 3%, federal, state, teachers, firefighters, police officers that for some reason decades fought for something that they knew nothing about. But anyway, I won't go off on a tangent on that one. It's a sore spot in our community, the Social Security Fairness Act. But anyway, so once they come up with a number, let's say your average earning throughout your life was $4,000. What they do is they take the first, this is for the numbers for 2026. This has been updated for 2026. So they take the first $1,286 and divide it by 90%. So you basically get, about $1,000 there. Okay. And then they take anything between 1286 and 7749 and multiply it by 32%. And then anything over 7,749, again, these are 2026 numbers, they multiply it by 15%. See how this works. The more money you make, the less percent you get. And this is where they come up with what's called the PIA, the primary insurance amount. The primary insurance amount is the amount you will receive at your full retirement age, okay? It's also called the PIA, your full retirement age, whether it's 66 and 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, 67 years old, or whatever the case may be. Hopefully Congress doesn't do anything stupid like making it 70 years old or whatever the case may be. But anyway, so here's some examples. Let's say so the one on the left, average index monthly earnings. You earned throughout your life $1,000. So you were a very low wage earner. You had some type of disabilities where you weren't able to work very much, whatever the case may be. Worked in a poor part of the country, worked part-time. You only worked 10 years and you didn't work the other 25 years, whatever the case may be. Low wage earner. Your average earnings throughout those 35 years was $1,000. So again, Congress has decided since the 1930s that we're going to give you a higher percentage, because if you only made $1,000 a month on average throughout your life, you probably don't have any 401ks or savings or all this other pensions and stuff like that because you were a low wage earner. So we as American people said, we're going to give you a higher percentage. So your percentage is 90%. So you're going to get a 90% replacement rate. Okay? And then if you make $2,000, your monthly check will be $1,386. And that is a 69.3% replacement rate. If your average earnings throughout your life is $5,000, your monthly check from Social Security will be about $2,346. And that represents a 46.9% replacement rate. If your average earnings throughout your life was $10,000, your check is going to be $3,563, which represents a replacement rate of 35.6%. So you see, low-income workers get a higher percentage than higher income workers, except for those 3% that were recipients of the Social Security Fairness Act. They get a higher percentage because I guess two wrongs make a right. So for some reason, they never understood this. But anyway, so they're getting a higher percentage like they were poor, but they weren't because they were firefighters and police officers and teachers and stuff like that. So it's the Social Security Unfairness Act, but that's 3% of the American population. But the other 97% of the American population, this is what we have in our Social Security system. So people say, one of the ways we can save Social Security, because in 86 more checks, the 87th check you're going to get, if we don't do anything, is going to be cut by 23%. And politicians for 40 years have failed to do anything to fix this. So that's why that's going to happen. And some people say, well, and including our community here, that we should raise the maximum you can pay into Social Security. And the maximum for this year is $176,100. Anybody that makes under that pays FICA tax on every dollar they make. If you make over $176,100, you stop paying FICA taxes on Social Security FICA taxes on any dollar after that. And people say we just need to raise the FICA cap. But then people say, well, if you do that, then the people that have average earnings throughout their life of $1 million a month will get a Social Security check of $600,000 a month or something like that. Which is incorrect because they don't understand these bin points. And so these bin points are set up they're the exact same every year, 90%, 32, 15%. So if we raise the cap, we just add another bin point. So anything over $10,000, we can say, okay, you get 0.0001%. And then, we name a dog park after you or something. And then Social Security, the rest of the population won't get cuts, and Social Security will be good for another 50, 75, 100 years, whatever the case may be. Okay, so people have asked me what the replacement rate is, what's the percentage, how benefits are calculated, and that's essentially how they're calculated. But the most important thing is to check your earnings record. Check your earnings record. Tell everybody you know, young people, old people, to check their earnings record. Because if you find it, if you find a mistake, let's say back in 1981, you find a mistake and you got a gap year there, it's far more difficult to do it 30 or 40 years later. If you find a gap in 1981 and you address it in 1982 and 1983, it's super, super easy to fix. You just provide your tax returns, yada, yada, yada. But 10, 23 years later, it's far more difficult, and you just might be stuck with a lower benefit amount because you didn't check your earnings record. So it's very, very important. Tell everybody you know, your nephews, your sons, daughters, nieces, whoever, even if they're young, tell them to check their earnings record. Okay, let's get into some questions here. Jonah. I spent some years growing up in the UK. I recall pensioners shopping at the store for 1 onion, 1 pepper, 3 potatoes, a bag of soup. Now I find I'm doing the same. Yeah, that's and we're the richest country in the history of the world. And but you know, someone says there's golden ballrooms and trillions for the the rich, but Medicaid cuts, food stamp cuts, yeah. I'm told by the investigators we may never know who did. Okay, looks like somebody's having conversations, which our community always has little conversations before, so it's perfect. Bob called My Jackson for detailed answers to your Social Security claiming questions. She is fantastic. Plenty of good advice. Best $140 I've ever spent. I'm very pleased with our conversation today. All right, perfect. Good deal. I just talked to My, and what he's talking about is all our help on all of this. The live Q&A here is free. Chapter Medicare helps you find your best Medicare plan for free. The websites that we have, mygovexpert.com, the 24help.org, that's all free. The only thing we charge for are one-on-one appointments, and we're going to be adding some more to help people with disability benefits, CDR benefits, but unfortunately those one-on-ones, because they're one-on-one, we do have to charge for them, but some of that money goes to support the websites and all this other kind of stuff. So what he's talking about is on here, you can talk, we've only got we're going to be adding some other people based on popular demand. So you can schedule an appointment with her and she can go over retirement benefits, disability benefits, Medicare, how to file for Part A, Part B, CDRs and all that kind of stuff. So thank you for letting me know, Bob. I sure do appreciate it. Yeah, she's awesome. Known her for many, many, many years. So Paul, Dr. Ed, I'm currently receiving SSDI. I've noticed on my income, I'm missing 2 years worth of income. What do I need to do? You need to fix it. You need to fix it. So to fix it, again, number one, you recognize you have a problem. I think that's another part of another program. But anyway, so it depends how far back it goes and what's the nature of the missing earnings. Sometimes these are in what's called a suspense file. And if they're in a suspense file, then it's super easy to fix. What a suspense file is if you paid into it, everything, you filed your taxes and everything is good in that respect. The IRS accepted your taxes, you paid your FICA taxes, but for some reason it just didn't make it into Social Security. The reason is somewhere along the line, someone typed the wrong Social Security number. They typed, the last two was 12, but they typed 21 or whatever the case may be. So the trick is to recognize that and then reach out to Social Security and say, hey, 1981, I work for the same place I did in 1980 versus 1983, and they will look at the employer identification number of that employer because they'll have it right there on your previous work history, and they'll look in the suspense file and they'll say, oh yeah, the employer identification number has some money here that's in suspense, and it has your name on it, but it looks like someone typed in their Social Security number a little bit wrong. So they take those earnings record out of the suspense file, stick it in your SEQI, your earnings record, and then they recalculate benefits. So if it turns out you've been receiving benefits for a while, and then they correct your record like that, then they owe you money. So if that record was 10 years ago and you've been receiving benefits for 10 years, they'll recalculate that benefit and give you 10 years of back pay, however much that increases it. So if any of the other situation, Penn King became a member, silver member. Thank you, Penn. I appreciate it. If there's anything else like that where you just didn't pay taxes or, something got met, then you would have to file new taxes and pay for all that. And most time people don't do it because it's too much of a pain. And anyway, so, but hopefully it's just in suspense files. So, Um, Greetings and salutations, Weirbees from cool Florida. Okay. Hopefully that name doesn't stick to our community. Hope you all have a fantastic week. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Big Dave. Started my Social Security last year and remarried this year. I now have a 14-year-old stepdaughter, dependent. Can she get dependent benefits from my Social Security as a minor? Yes, possibly. You have to prove half support. So for a stepchild, fine, no problem, married to the parent. You just have to prove that you've been providing half support. And so I would definitely file, and they'll tell you exactly what they need. They'll, say, okay, how much money do you got coming in? How much does your spouse have coming in? And they do this weird thing. So they'll walk you through the entire process. So no problem whatsoever. And if they're approved, if she's approved, then she will get benefits until she's 18 years old, basically up to 50% of your full benefit amount, until she turns 18 or graduates high school, or max 19 and 2 months. And then your spouse, if she's not working, she could also possibly receive benefits too. It's called auxiliary child and care benefits. So if she's not working or working below the annual limit, $23,400, ask. So go in there, schedule an appointment, file for benefits for your child, expect to, have to prove that you're providing half support, and then ask about child and care benefits. Barbara, my daughter applied for disability 13 months ago. She was zero income for all those months. She has a lawyer who just keeps telling her she has to wait. How does someone wait with nothing? Yeah, it's been like this for a while, unfortunately. And the system is not broken. The system is working 100% perfectly. Social Security is working, the disability system, retirement system, the phone system, it's 100% perfect. But as I argued a few days ago, we are not the customers anymore. They are purposely, intentionally breaking down the system, making it more difficult, putting up more hurdles, making it more complicated, firing people that were there to help you. So you will hate the system, so you will blame Social Security, so you will yell at Social Security employees, shoot the messenger basically, and the politicians, that's exactly what they want. The people that want to privatize Social Security, this is exactly, and if you disagree, I've got the playbook that they wrote in the 1980s that explains exactly what they're doing right now, and they're doing, so it's completely successful. It's just that we're not the customer anymore. It's Wall Street and the people that will get the trillions of dollars of Social Security and use that as their private casino to see how much money they can make. So anyway, in terms of yours, so for if this is an initial claim, 13 months is way, way, way too long. An initial claim, we're talking about 6 to 9 months. If this is a reconsideration, then it's added together. It's probably 13 months. If she's denied, then you go into the administrative law judge, which takes another year. Some people on our channel have sent me letters and showed me the copy of the Social Security letter that they received that shows that it's a 2,000 month waiting period in California in some places. It's completely unsatisfactory. So what you could possibly do is reach out to your politician, and because that's the person that's ultimately responsible for the functioning of the government. And if you ask Mike Johnson, he'll just say, I don't know. I don't know anything about that. So I guess that's so. Homestead Hippie, not Homestead, Florida, right? Homestead. Will my son be able to get SSDI when he turns 18 if he's disabled per SSI? Yeah, if he's receiving, not SSDI. If he's not eligible for SSDI now, then nothing will change once he turns 18. The only way you can get SSDI is if you work and pay into it, or you get it from a parent. So if you or his other spouse, his other parent, are receiving retirement benefits or disability benefits or have passed away, then he can receive disability benefits on that person's record. So he can only receive it on somebody else's record that is receiving it, or on on his own record, work record. But if he's been receiving SSI, I'm sure he's not working enough to pay for that. So, but in terms of SSI, nothing will change when he turns 18. They'll do a reevaluation when he turns 18 because the disability criteria is different once you're an adult versus a child. So at 18, they'll do another evaluation. But if he's still disabled at that time, he will receive SSI forever. But remember, SSI is also a welfare-based program. So not only do you have to be disabled, you also have to have low income, low resources. So, but if he wins the lottery or something like that, then he won't get SSI, even though he is disabled. D Lane, how do the payments work if you're earning limit? I'm planning to sign up for survivor benefits. I'm 62 and widowed. Remember, for widow's benefits, survivor benefits, you can start as early as 60 years old. So hopefully you weren't sitting around twiddling your thumbs for 2 years waiting for your 62, because survivor benefits start at 60. You can't believe how many people lose 2 years of money and struggle for 2 years when they have money available to them. Obviously, anytime you receive, Social Security benefits early, for most programs, your benefits are reduced. But a lot of people, again, subscribe, like, share. We need to get this information out there so people stop struggling as much as we possibly can help. So in terms of earnings limit, so the earnings limit is the same whether you're receiving survivor benefits, retirement benefits, spouse benefits. You are limited before your full retirement age. This year it's $23,400. So anything over $23,400, they're going to hold back $1 for every $2 you go over. And then next year, it is going to be $24,480. So they're going to hold back $1 for every $2 you go over that amount for next year. So, but remember, so if you're planning to sign up for benefits, the first year you sign up, they can go to this. This is what this is down here. This explains this. The first year you sign up, they can do a monthly. So if you want to sign up for benefits starting this month, November, and you made $1 billion the first 10 months, Social Security doesn't care. They just only care about when you start your benefits. So for this year, the first month you earn under $1,950, you can start your benefits. Next year, you have to stay under the annual. You can't switch to the monthly again. You can only use the monthly when you first file. All right, let's see. Has anybody seen Pink Owl? Oh, one of our regulars. Yeah, we need to make sure we reach out to them. A few days ago, I called Chapter Medicare and got great help from Becca. Big thank you to her. Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, this is the annual enrollment period. Some people, so TT was able to get in. Unfortunately, yeah, a lot of people need help. And I think because, you can get help from, there's tons of Medicare insurance agents that can help you sign up. That's not the super difficult part. The super difficult part is getting help for the rest of the year. So that's why my son and I chose to have Medicare help you all out. And again, full disclosure, they support our channel here. They support our websites and everything. But so TT, some people are having a hard time getting into them, but it's worth the wait, and you have until December 7th. So it usually starts slowing down here around now. So call late in the evening is probably best. But if you call them and it was a long wait, yeah, it's everybody's crazy the first couple of weeks or so. But be prepared, and that way you make sure you get the best plan. So it doesn't matter who you call, who helps you, always be prepared, because you don't want January to roll around and say, oh, shoot, I forgot about this. So have your current plan so they can compare it, your Medicare Advantage plan, your providers, prescriptions, your pharmacy, if you want to use a particular pharmacy, your priorities. Do you need extra dental, vision? Focus on the prices. How much does it cost to stay in a hospital tonight? How much is a MRI, an X-ray? How much it is to see a specialist and all that stuff? And then persistence. That's the key. That's why we recommend Chapter Medicare. Is if you're a client of theirs, and then next year, January, February, March, April, December, your Medicare Advantage plan starts giving you a hard time with prior authorizations or weird billing or something like that, you reach Chapter Medicare, and they help you out. And we're going to have Sarah from Chapter Medicare here within the next week or so talking about all this. So, Fast Eddie, with a stepdaughter getting benefits, would that Social Security check come in her name or would it come in her mother or stepfather's name? Both. It'll say your name or whoever's name for, and then the beneficiary's name. So it'll have name for. So on your bank account, if you set up a separate bank account, make sure it has her name on it. If it goes into a family bank account, which is usually fine, unless it's SSI, that's a little bit touchy there. But anyway, but whatever the case may be, before the check comes, kind of notify your bank that a check is going to be coming for this person. It has, you know, the bank account's name on there, but it should have, you know, that way it doesn't kick back. You only have to do that once and say, hey, by the way, you know, daughter's going to be receiving money. Just, you know, should we put the name on there, whatever, and they'll help you. What is the best time to call Chapter so I don't have a 3-hour wait to speak with them? Yeah, it's crazy. I've reached out to Ari and their team, and yeah, they're getting no sleep whatsoever. So their hours are 8 to 10 Monday through Friday, West Coast time, or excuse me, East Coast time, and Saturday, Sunday from 9 to 9. So late in the evening is probably best because people probably don't know they're open to 10 o'clock East Coast time. So yeah, if you're on the West Coast, call them like 7 o'clock-ish or something like that, 6 o'clock, and I bet most people don't know they're open, and I bet you can get in there. So I blame the politicians, not Social Security. Exactly. And again, it's from both sides. You know, I put up the little graphic there, and I don't put a red or a blue line and says, okay, this side is the fault. This, you know, if they would have done their job, I don't care who it was, we wouldn't have this issue. So it's all of them. My Jackson's a retired Title II CS. She really knows her stuff. You'll be singing her praises too. Yes, My Jackson is awesome. And her husband also worked for Social Security, and he was recently, he's an old Air Force retired guy, Air Force guy. He was he didn't want to retire, but he loved the agency, did a phenomenal job. One of the smartest guys in Social Security, just super initiative. Just awesome. And he was kind of, pushed out or decided to bail while the bailing was good. A lot of people doing that. So it makes it even more difficult. So we're trying to get him to start helping people as well. But I'm going to give him another week of retirement. So, retirement is over. Get back to work. Angela, a friend of mine, got turned down for SSDI. She's 62. She tried calling the local Social Security office, and they told her that she would have to sign up online and she can't log into the website. They're pushing everybody to the website, and it's fine if you have a easy retirement claim. People come into the comments all the time and says, Ed, I don't know what you're talking about. I filed for retirement benefits online. It was no problem. Didn't have to talk to anybody. Well, okay. Well, there's a lot of people out there with a full head of hair. So I guess that proves that there's no thing as male pattern baldness, right? And you did have to, someone had to review your claim. There was a human being on the other side. They're trying to move it to AI, but you got lucky. So I would go out there and hit the lottery maybe, But a lot of people out there are not having the same luck you are, like Angela here. So I would just call them up again and say, no, I want an appointment. No ifs, ands, or buts. I want an appointment. I can't get on the website, whatever the case may be. And remember, whenever you first started doing this, tell them that when you set up an appointment and their appointment is until, the end of this month or next month or January, whatever the case may be, tell them, I would push for an appointment sooner because disability, you're going to have a 6 to 9 months wait at the very least. And you want to get the process started as soon as possible. So I would push for an earlier appointment. But when you do get an appointment, tell them that you tried to contact them last month or 2 months ago or 3 months ago or however long you've been doing it, and that will give you a protective filing for that month. and a protective filing protects you. So if you called them 3 months ago and then, 6 months, 9 months down the line, they approve your application, they can go back to the month you first contacted them. But if they don't know, then you're going to lose those benefits. So it's important that you let them know. So I would push again and say, no, the internet doesn't work for me. I want to talk to a human being. I paid into Social Security taxes for decades. Part of that money was supposed to go for you to help me get my benefits, get the right check at the right time. I know politicians are not giving you that money and they're, firing all you people, but, that's not my fault. It's not your fault. We're dealing with politicians that want to destroy the system. But for us right now, I want an appointment as soon as possible. So that's the way I would address that. Let's get into some video questions here.
Right now, I'm drawing from my second wife's survivors.
This is Robert. I am on SSDI. I've been on it since 1994. And I have been watching a program where you had said
we were married 12 years.
That while you're on SSDI, if you're under the poverty and you need more, because I'm in a situation where I'm not making it where I'm at, and I'll be kicked out if I don't pay my rent. You said you could also go file for retirement, and that's just what I did. And when I got there, the lady literally yelled at me and told me that I cannot qualify for retirement and I cannot qualify for any more funds. And that's all she said. And she just walked away.
Yeah, that's completely unsatisfactory to the way you were treated. Yeah. And one of the problems is I'm sure hopefully the district manager of that particular office knows and they would like to fire that person, but they can't rehire anybody else. So it's like, well, okay, if we fire that person, then, they're not, sure, they're not the nicest people, but they do, they do work. So if Social Security could fill in those spots, because there's a lot of people out there that need jobs, and a lot of people would appreciate to have that job. And but the district manager probably says, yeah, I can't let that person go. I need them to do at least do something. Yeah. So it's tough. It's unfortunate. But also, unfortunately, they were right. So what I was talking about is called a RibDib. That is if you're filing for retirement at first, at like 62 years old, or let's say disability. You're filing for disability at 62 years old. You can file for disability, and as I mentioned, it's going to take months and months and months for you to get your disability claim decision. And during that time, people can't wait. So they can file for retirement benefits and get the check coming in. And then if they're approved for disability, then they're switched to disability because you always get the higher benefit amount. And disability, because it's unreduced, except for because you've taken a little bit early. But anyway, that gets too complicated. I'll skip that. But when you file for retirement benefits at 62, there's a 30% reduction. So they switch you from retirement benefits to the higher disability benefits. But if you're already on disability, then yeah, she is correct that if you can file, you can stop your disability benefits and file for retirement benefits, but then it's going to be reduced. So there's no use in doing that. So you're on the higher benefit amount. The only other out there is SSI, which is the supplemental security income. But that's the max you can get out of that is $967. If your Social Security disability check is over $967, then you can't get SSI because you're making too much. Everything else, reach out to Medicaid, go onto my website, mygovexpert.com, click on more, click on living on Social Security alone, and it comes up with all the programs. Just talked about SSI, SNAP, obviously. Nightmare with that, Medicare savings program. So that through Medicaid, I would reach out to Medicaid, your state, and see if you are eligible for Medicaid. If you're eligible for Medicaid and they put you at the higher levels, they will, that's basically the Medicare savings program. Well, they'll pay $185 your monthly, Part B premium. So that's extra $185 there. And then if you're eligible for that, you might be eligible for those, over-the-counter drug cards, the grocery cards and stuff like that. So, yeah, there is help out there. I wish there was more help for people out there struggling, but hey, at least we got a golden ballroom. People say it's privately funded. Yeah, I know it's privately funded, but I mean, could those donations go to someplace better, like a food bank or something like that? Why a golden ballroom? Why trillions of dollars of tax cut for the super wealthy? I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. But anyway, so there's that. All right, let's see what else we have here.
Hi, I'm Julie from Northern California, also known as Miss Mindful. And my question was, I was denied in July because I didn't have the 12 months in my records yet. They did state that I would not be able to do my regular job, but I could probably do some qualified type of work. So my reconsideration was because my records then documented that I would be out through December, which would make it 14 months. And I also had an added thing with arthritis in my leg. The original was for post-COVID with respiratory issues and brain fog and orthostatic intolerance. It was back in February, and that I could do my previous work, and that the fall they are.
Okay, so it sounds like you file for disability benefits. They, not sure about the 12 months, is probably work or something like that. So yeah, they're seeing if there's any other work out there in the economy, someone at your age, your educational, your experience can do. Yeah, sometimes even if there isn't those jobs out there. So it's the whole process is kind of crazy, and it's getting crazier. But in terms of, it sounds like you filed for one thing and then came up with something else. So yeah, definitely, I'm not sure if you're using a lawyer or doing it yourself. You reach out, the claims examiner at DDS, not the Social Security person. The Social Security person at the Social Security office, you file for disability, that person is out of the loop. Your claim was forwarded to the Disability Determination Services, and they're the ones that make a medical decision, look at all your records and everything, and request all your records. So if you have anything, you reach out to the claims examiner that's checking your claim and make sure you notify them that, hey, I do have new issues and I want to add those on there, and I'll provide proofs, send me a barcode so I can scan it in, fax it in and stuff like that. So I would definitely do that. The claims examiner, you should know on a first name basis. And yeah, but one of the other problems is politicians are also cutting back those positions as well. So that person might be, pretty stressed out, let's say. So.
Hi, Dr. Ed. I have a quick question. I turned 64 in August. I'll be 65 next August. I filed for early Social Security. And at that time, they told me that I could file for disability because I asked if I had worked, and I hadn't worked in the last 3 years because I had neck and back surgery and can't do the things I used to do. I tried to do a different job, but that didn't work out. So they had me file for both. So I get my Social Security. I got my first check last month, and now I got a thing in the mail saying they want me to go for tests with their doctor, I guess, to check out my disability, but and then I have to wait 2 years to get the Medicare. But if I'm going to be 65, am I not eligible for Medicare at that time? I think that's my question. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So it sounds like everything is going correctly. You applied for retirement benefits, and then you filed for disability benefits. And they are in the process, and whatever medical records you have, they think they need a little bit more. So they're sending you for what's called a CE, a consultative exam. Make sure you keep that appointment and be honest. A lot of people, I mean, obviously you're going to be honest, but be honest in the sense of a lot of people, you know, they try to, you know, stiff upper lip type thing, and say, oh yeah, I've got this issues, but I'm pushing through it. And no, just tell them what your issues are. Don't try to, you know, be all tough and stuff like that. And, you know, lay it bare. You know, you're not talking to some stranger, you know, that, you know, that you think is necessarily judging you, a moral judgment or something like that. You're talking to hopefully someone that's a specialist in your particular field, and you want to be 100% honest with them and tell them, don't be shy. Tell them exactly what's going on. Okay. In terms of your Medicare, yeah, you're going to be eligible for Medicare based on being 65. So the 2-year wait for disability, not an issue. So because you're already receiving retirement benefits, your Medicare will start automatically. You should receive your Medicare package in the mail about 100 days before you turn 65. And at that time, you'll just need to, you know, to find, you know, coverage that's going to cover all the gaps. So look for a Medicare supplement plan, a Medicare Advantage plan, whatever is best for you. So make sure you know, check out the 7 Ps.
I am having trouble getting my direct deposit changed to my new bank. I have been working on this for over 3 months with Social Security. Is there someone that I can call besides the national number or the individual office? I need somebody above Social Security and talk to them, please.
Okay, yeah, that's unfortunate. Been doing 3 months to change your direct deposit. I wonder some type of issue going on. But okay, here's a trick that I know Social Security hates me saying, but tough. I mean, Social Security, you know, it's the politicians that making us do this. There's over 1,200 Social Security offices throughout the country, and every one of those offices have on the outside of the building Social Security Administration. So every one of those 1,200 offices in the country is your Social Security office. So if you're having, you know, you can't, the 800 numbers ain't helping you out, your local Social Security office ain't helping you out, call any office in the country, because a direct deposit change, anybody, you know, that's, you know, relatively easy. They will, with Doge came in, they made it more difficult. You can do it on the phone, but then you also have to follow up. And you might have to go into an office. Yeah, Doge made it a lot more difficult than it was prior. But call any Social Security office in the country, you know, usually like a small town someplace in, you know, East Texas or Idaho or Kansas or something like that. Just, you know, Google any one of them and then find the local number, call them up, and then you can talk to them. And hopefully someone there will be able to help you out and get you changed. If not, they'll say, okay, yeah, in your particular situation, because of the new Doge rules, you will have to go down to the local Social Security office and prove your, you know, whatever. And then when you go down there, you know, and the guard tries to keep you out, tell them that this is an emergency situation. I need my check. And they're supposed to let you in. So, all right, got 3 more, I think.
Hey, Dr. Weir.
Yeah, just give them.
My name is Charles Harden, and I just got my Social Security disability last December. And I was wondering do we pay taxes if you have Social Security disability, or do I need to go get something from my local office?
Let's get into some video questions. And if you ever had a video question, okay, yeah. Someone says, please turn the TV down when you're making, yes, please. Yes. I hate hearing my own voice. So it makes it hard to hear your voice. So yeah, please turn the TV down when you're recording the question. So, yeah, I don't do taxes, but in your particular situation, you probably don't pay federal income taxes on your Social Security benefits, but talk to a tax person. About 40–50% of people don't even pay taxes on their Social Security benefits. And the president keeps repeating that there's no taxes on Social Security, which is 100% incorrect. That's what he promised during the campaign trail. And guess what? Politicians promise something that doesn't come into reality. There's going to be a lot of people that trust everything he says, and they're not going to pay taxes on their Social Security when they have to, and they're going to get in trouble. So, but we'll leave that where it is. But yeah, if that's pretty much all you're receiving and you don't receive anything, you're probably in the category where you don't have to pay taxes on Social Security. But again, you reach out to your politician or reach out to your IRS person, your accountant, whoever does your taxes, and check on that. So yeah, so there's that. So I never work for the IRS, so I always avoid that type of question.
And I'm already on SSDI. Will they start? I haven't had a CR or anything like that. Will they just roll me over at 67? Thank you.
All right. Yes. If you're receiving SSDI and you never received a CDR, then it's either lucky or unlucky. You're lucky that you never received it, or unlucky in the sense that your disability is so severe they said you don't need one. So it's one of those situations, depend on the situation. But yeah, once just as everything else, if your full retirement age is 67, then starting 67, you will no longer be on disability benefits. You'll be on regular retirement benefits. So definitely no CDRs after that, and no earnings limit. So someone says I should answer somebody's question. Who is it? Mary Stocks. I should answer Mary Stocks' question. And I've got hundreds of questions here. Let me do a quick, see if I can find Mary Stocks' question. I'm not seeing it there. I'm going through random, Bella, Patricia, Homestead, Paul. I'm sorry, I don't see her question. So, all right. If someone could cut and paste it and put it down one more time, we've got a few more minutes, and I'll definitely get to it here if I'm able to see it.
Hi, Dr. Ed. Hope you're having a good morning. This is Wendy from Florida. I just got a paper to fill out to send back to my representative for the start of my congressional inquiry into my Social Security. So it looks like this is going to be another long process. And I've been able to help a couple of people out with answers that I've gotten from you on your website.
Awesome. Yeah. So she did a video question before, and we told her that it's time to reach out to her politician, and she did that. And it sounds like things are working there. And she's gone above and beyond to help other people in her community. Miss Mindful, which made a video, she said at the end of the video, I was denied. Oh, okay. Yeah, I might have cut off your video. I apologize for that. I was denied for my reconsideration. I turned 65 in January. My question was if I should just go for my regular retirement because of the long wait. Yeah, it really depends on your particular situation. You can continue waiting, or go ahead and file for retirement benefits. So if you go ahead, if you need the money, then you need the money, you need money. That's a slam dunk. File for your retirement benefits and get your retirement benefits started. And remember, so if you go ahead and start your retirement benefits, it's going to be reduced because if you do it at 65, it's reduced for a couple of years. So you get a reduced amount. But then next month, 6 months, 9 months down the line, if they approve your disability benefits and your disability benefits start before your retirement benefits, then they will make you whole. So they will say, okay, let's say starting in November of 2025, we paid you $1,000 in retirement benefits, and actually your full benefit amount is $1,500. We already paid you $1,000 because you were approved for disability. We'll give you the other $500, and then all the way back. So they'll make you whole. So that is an option. So I can't tell you one way or the other. I'd have to ask you a whole bunch of other questions on whether you need it and you're working and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, that is an option. Mary's question I can't, unfortunately. Okay. Mary Stock's still question. I need to know if I can get more Social Security from my ex. We were married 38 years. And thank you, Homestead Hippie, for reposting that question. I appreciate it. I only get over 100 from his, and he made over 6 figures a year, still working we're still working part-time. I'm 75. Whether you can get more from him, it sounds like you're already getting your benefits from him. And your benefits for him is based on his PIA, his primary insurance amount. So he was making over 6 figures, but was he making over 6 figures the entire 35 years? And was he making 6 figures and had a partial business where he expensed everything and therefore he was only making, $1,000 a month, so he would be considered poverty level? Yeah. And so if you are receiving benefits on your record and you're also receiving benefits from his record, then yeah, you're getting, unfortunately, the benefits. If that's your only ex-spouse, if you were married to anybody else, but you were married to him for 38 years, so it's probably not the situation. So yeah, if you're getting benefits from his record, then, it's based on his record. And he is still working part-time, but he might be over, his full retirement age. And every year he works, if he pays more into Social Security, then his benefit will go up, and therefore your benefit will go up. So the only thing that will change is if anything should happen to him, because you're receiving up to 50% of his benefit amount. If you filed for benefits on his record at your full retirement age, you're receiving exactly 50% of his benefit amount, minus your own, obviously. But that's only 50%. If anything should happen to him, then your benefit amount is automatically converted to surviving spouse benefits, which goes up to 100%. So theoretically, your monthly benefit amount could double if anything should happen to him. So, so there's that. So thank you, Homestead Hippie, for doing that, reposting that, and everybody else. Please don't feel guilty. You needed the help to regain your strength. I'm sure the cost of the food was factored into what you paid for insurance. Okay. Let's see. You guys are awesome. That's what it's all about. It's people, if people, if they're getting all their benefits and you're helping them, and you help them, make sure their benefit amount is correct. They're getting the right benefits. They're taking advantage of all the available benefits to them, because, billionaires are definitely, they've got a whole team of IRS lawyers and accountants and attorneys that make sure they work and manipulate every ounce of the law to get all that. Well, they also make the laws too, so that benefit them, the golden rule, right? Who has the gold rules? And then they harass regular people for taking advantage of, or making available to themselves benefits that are available for them. So it's kind of wait a second here. Yeah. But you guys are awesome. So if you helping everybody in your community make sure they're getting everything they possibly can, then the only other thing we can do is, what Naomi's doing is just be there for people and, be human beings, not AI. So, Cup of Joy. I just got my COLA letter and it was one from last year. I'm waiting on the phone now. Wow. That's a little bit late. COLA letter from last year. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Maybe it probably, I don't think it's a COLA letter. I think it's a benefit increase letter. It's probably not the COLA, because COLA letters went out like in January or so. That's a letter that says your benefit amount is increasing because the work you did last year. So the work you did last year is one of the high 35 years, and therefore they looked at the AIME, as we were talking about on our beginning. They looked at that 35 years and they determined that last year was one of those high 35 years. So they're kicking out one of the low ones and adding the new one, and then they're recalculating your benefits. And it just took them a while, because you might have filed your taxes late, or your employer, or whatever. Sometimes it takes a while. People get it in October, November. But you will get that increase starting January. So your benefits increased based on last year, and they should have increased starting January. So if you got the letter and says, hey, from now on, we're going to pay you an extra $10 a month, they're going to give you a $100 lump sum, because 10 months, they're going to pay you back the 10 months. So that's probably the letter. It's probably not a COLA. So unless your COLA, the letter that they sent out in January was redirected to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba or something. And you're just now getting it, right? I hate politics, but when so many people are suffering, it's time to get involved immediately. So vote for peace and democracy. Yep, I agree. Yeah, I mean, these people, ostensibly, they work for us, right? These politicians, but they don't, they really don't seem like it sometimes, right? Mother Earth, best way to get direct deposit is go to Social Security in person with proof of your account with full account number. Yeah, that's the best way. But if some people just don't have transportation and they go to the office and they're kicked out. They said, you need an appointment to come in. But remember, we've got some new viewers here. Our regular community here knows this, but let's, with those new people that are here, let's teach them the tricks of the trade. So when you go to a local Social Security office without an appointment, then you're going to be confronted with a guard. And our guard was Moi Moi, big giant Samoan dude, biggest puppy in the world, the nicest guy you'll ever meet. But he worked for Federal Protective Services. He was a contract guard, worked for private companies, contracted with the Federal Protective Services, not a Social Security employee. And the Federal Protective Services, Social Security says, here's the policy, here's what you do. And so he had to do it. Everybody has to do it throughout the country. So, but when you go there's a few keywords they're supposed to listen for. Dire need, homeless, being evicted, PR, public relations type thing, a congressional, you contacted your congressperson. So they're supposed to listen to those keywords when you try to get in. So if they, you got the big line there and they say, oh, I need to change my direct deposit. And they'll say, yeah, you need to do that line. Well, this is a dire need. I need my money. I'm about to be evicted, about to shut off the electricity, yada, yada, yada. And they're supposed to let you in. So, but don't everybody out there use that just as a trick, because then it's going to be more difficult to help everybody else out. So let's only do it if it actually is a dire need, please. All right, let's see what else we got. Let me see if I can find some new people that we've never seen here before. Let's see. Uni Drummer. I don't think we've seen Uni Drummer. What's up? I just filled out my Social Security online application on November 1st. When I got to the end of the screen, popped up saying I must be 61 and 9 months old to submit the application. Should I wait to submit? Yes. Yeah. So you can only push the button when it allows you 3 or 4 months before. So, yep. And remember, that is because it's when you're 62 is a little bit of an exception. You have to be 62 the entire month. So if you were born on January 15th, you can't start your benefits in January. You have to be 62 the entire month. So the first month you can start your benefits is in February. And then the February check comes in March. So just sit there and hold on it. And then basically, yeah, end of the month, first of next month, then you'll be able to push the button. But I know you've already checked your earnings record to make sure it's correct, right? So there's that. For our Thanksgiving dinner, everyone brings something to share. My friends always do a giant turkey and I have to bring my own vegan. Okay, that's always enough to share. Okay, all right. I wonder what happened to that one that one guy that accidentally, or the lady accidentally reached out to this kid in college or something like that and invited him, but it was actually the wrong person. I think that person still shows up every year for Thanksgiving and stuff. Yeah, are we awesome people? Politicians like to divide us, making us hate each other, but come on. Yeah. Last time I went to Social Security stole all my computer supplies out of my purse, distracting me. Homeland Security contractors, Americans. Yeah, wow. What? We used to have a lady that came and steal our toilet paper on a regular basis. Hey, Margaret. Yeah, that sounds strange. All right. I apologize. I've got to take my wife to someplace, so I usually do a little bit longer, but I have to keep it exactly hour today, or there'll be hell to pay. So there's that. All right. Y'all take care. I will be back again tomorrow. So if I missed your question, record a video question. We love those. I love those. Or ask your question in live Q&A, and I will get to it tomorrow. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a beautiful, beautiful night. And please, 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 please take care of each other. Bye-bye.